Many of our viewers are probably thinking that it just seems too easy and too good to be true that they can actually get a divorce online without using an expensive paralegal or a lawyer. I say this because I've heard countless stories from friends getting divorced over the years that started out as a simple divorce, but by the time all was said and done had spent upwards of $50,000 or more. In fact, I heard a story the other day from my mechanic whose divorce was currently at $125,000 and had still not yet been settled. I'll bet throughout the years you've had some horror stories as well. So how typical are these legal bills for divorce? And if you could say one thing to our audience that could prevent them from having to spend countless thousands of dollars for a divorce by doing it themselves online, what would that be?
Our intention, Dee Dee, is to make your divorce process as easy, painless, and affordable as possible. In the past, we used to go through travel agents to book our travel, but now, because of e-commerce, which has come so far, most of us do it ourselves. And this has allowed the prices to come down. So just like purchasing travel and most other things online, we have now made it possible for you to get your divorce online. And by doing so, you save yourself thousands of dollars. So, Dee Dee, this service is ideal for those who are seeking an uncontested divorce, but want to do it themselves affordably. Now, in terms of your questions about just what can happen with regards to things going sideways and legal bills piling up, my experience has been that divorce can be a very traumatic and financially ruinous time if you let your emotions get the better of you. In my family law practice, I have seen firsthand the worst that can happen, when people let their emotions take hold. In the absolute best case scenario I have seen, nothing under a $30,000 bill when a divorce has become contested. In the worst case scenario, unlike your mechanic friend who got away with perhaps, 2 years and a $125,000 bill, I have a case right now that's still in the courts. It's awaiting a trial after 9 years of bitter litigation. And my clients are still awaiting a trial, which perhaps is going to take another 10 days of litigation. And after a bill that's now amounted to about $250,000, they're facing another $100,000 bill for that trial. So in the end, they and their children have all lost, no matter who wins at this trial. And I know that this money could have been better spent on their children rather than for lawyers in the dispute.
So any advice, Tim, on how to prevent all this from happening?
So my advice is if you want to keep your money and do your own divorce yourself, stay reasonable and realistic. If both parties can do this, they can save themselves a lot of heartache and, more importantly, I suppose, a lot of money by agreeing on a fair settlement of their divorce. People have to stay rational and as unemotional as possible. You see, the law is somewhat dispassionate. It looks at a breakdown of a marriage almost like the end of a business partnership. Do up your accounts, divide the assets, make sure the kids, if there are any, are taken care of, and the parties go their own way. So try to keep it as unemotional as possible. Playing the blame game or seeking revenge through litigation leaves only the lawyers rich and the players poor. So my advice would be to stay focused, stay reasonable, and through our services, actually, your divorce can be as inexpensive and as painless as possible.
So earlier on you said that in order to use this service, your divorce must be uncontested. What does that mean?
Uncontested means both parties want a divorce and agree on getting it now. And to qualify for a divorce, all you need to be is legally separate and apart for 1 year. And if there are no children involved, this service is ideal for you. And if there are children, and both of you have agreed about with whom they will live and who will pay for their support, then this service is also the cheapest and quickest way to get divorced.
Timothy, when you say that in order to be separated, you must be legally living separate and apart for the year, can you explain that? Because I'm sure there's couples out there that simply can't afford to have two residents and live apart, especially if they have children to support.
Well, Dee Dee, lots of separated couples can't afford to get their own separate residences after splitting up. Living separate and apart does not necessarily mean moving out from the family home. You can live separate and apart, but still live under the same roof. And so I invite our viewers to click on the link for the family home to learn more about the special nature of the family home after the parties have legally separated but still live in the same house.
So, just to recap then, I can do my own divorce if I'm legally separated, meaning that both my spouse and I agree that we want a divorce, and we've been living separate and apart for a year, whether in the same household or not, and if there are any children that we've agreed with whom they will be living and who will pay their support.
Yes, Dee Dee, under those conditions, you can get a divorce now.
So, what if my spouse has changed their mind after I've started the process and doesn't agree to the divorce? What then?
Well, what this means is that the divorce has now become contested. Divorce will typically get contested when one party refuses to agree on getting a divorce now because of other issues arising from the breakdown of the marriage. Generally, there are pretty well three major areas that can make a divorce contested, and they concern the children, support, and splitting up the family property and assets. So viewers can get more information as to what to do if their divorce is or is about to become contested by viewing our video on contested divorce.
So, if the parties have not settled regarding the children, support, and sharing the property, are you saying that that means they can't get a divorce now?
Not exactly, Dee Dee. As I stated before, if there are children and if the parties can agree in the short term about the kids, so i.e., where they will live and who will pay for their support for now, they can get a divorce and settle all the other issues afterwards. So the only issues that need to be settled immediately are custody and support for the kids. All the other issues like spousal support and sharing the family property need not be settled right away in order to get a divorce now.
So, Tim, that's all you need? I'm so surprised because I've heard of so many people fighting over who gets what and refusing to grant the other a divorce.
Well, Dee Dee, you can have those fights yet still get a divorce. As long as the children, if any, are taken care of by way of an agreement about their support, you can postpone dealing with such explosive matters, such as divvying up the family property, assets, or spousal support until a later time. In fact, Dee Dee, I have found that getting a divorce first removes a lot of the emotional baggage from the negotiations and helps the parties deal with the money issues in a calm, cool, and unrushed manner. This is because in their minds, the emotional sting and the pain of divorce has had time to settle and become a reality. And one can negotiate much more reasonably when the emotional pain is gone. Now, Dee Dee, I need to let you know, though, and your viewers, that there is a limitation period for making a claim for sharing the family property and assets. You have to make that claim within 2 years after the date of receiving your divorce, or 6 years after separating, to sue for your share of the family property in court.
Okay. So, Tim, if I determine that my divorce is uncontested, I guess the next question is how much and how long does it take to get a divorce?
Well, the first thing you need to do is watch the video that follows this one, which describes the process of divorce. When you understand the process, you can determine comfortably which of our services best suits you. There is a service option for pretty well everyone, depending on their level of comfort and what they need. You can also perhaps call our support line if you need help in understanding the process furthermore and picking a package that's best for your situation. If you have lots of time on your hands and you don't mind spending a couple of days sitting in a court office and you're comfortable dealing with clerks and with judges, then our basic service may be right for you. On the other hand, if you prefer some comfort and some peace of mind knowing that the process gets done properly, we can do your complete divorce for you from beginning to end. So whatever level of service you choose, you'll be saving at least hundreds, if not thousands of dollars by using our do-it-yourself divorce online service that will help you get the divorce you want and want now.
So, Tim, ideally, how long would getting a divorce take if I do it all myself?
As for timing, it's always a matter of how busy the court office is and if you filled out your paperwork properly. With our basic package, if you follow our instructions to the letter, get your ex to sign the appropriate documents, take the days off work to immediately file the material with the court, and there are no errors or omissions, you can expect a judgment for divorce, if both of you reside in Ontario, back within about 3 months. If you go for our gold service and allow our trained staff to do your entire divorce for you by attending to the immediate filing of all your documents, with the assurance that there will be no court office rejections, I've seen divorce judgments obtained in as little as 5 weeks. With our gold service, you can be assured that it will be done right the first time and for far less than a lawyer or a paralegal would normally charge.
Thanks, Tim. You've been very helpful in explaining who can use this service. Stay tuned for our next video on the process of divorce and how you can do your own divorce.